I am Mr. MegaManFan, and today on Genesis Does, we will be talking about Columns 3. It is the future, and there is time for columns. Yeah, I'm parodying another puzzle game, but it feels appropriate since this is like the revenge of columns. This is the future of columns. And they both start with a cuss sound anyway. You probably know what I'm talking about. In fact, you probably know the game Columns. I don't know that it requires a whole lot of explanation. But just in case, if there's anybody out there who has never played a Columns game and they are watching this video for the first time, I'll give you a very brief primer of what's going on here. And there's a story mode and some exposition here, but it changes nothing about the actual game itself. The concept is the same from one Columns game to the next. You get these drops periodically of 3 gems. Sometimes they're the same color, sometimes they're all different colors, sometimes there's 2 of one and 1 of the other, sometimes you get a special item instead of gems, but they're always in these columns of 3, hence the name. And what you want to do is rotate the gems with the buttons on your Genesis controller or equivalent to USB controller if you're playing on emulation, and get 3 or more in a row. You can get the colors horizontally, vertically, or diagonally, but you need at least 3 of the same color to match up. And obviously, like any game of this type, the more matches you make at once, the better. They improve your score, and in this version, they send garbage to your opponent, whether it's a human or an AI opponent. Here's some more official information from the Wikipedia entry for this game. Ahem. October 15th of 1993 is when it was released in Japan. December 17th of 1993 is when it was released in North America. And it was published by Sega in Japan and Victokai in North America. The composer was Morihiko Akiyama. And that's really about it. You just play these AI boss fights in the single player mode, or you play head to head against a human opponent if you have a friend with you and a second Genesis controller or USB equivalent on an emulator. And as I mentioned, there are bosses. They go in this order according to Wikipedia: Spider, Bat, Skeleton, Treasure Chest, Ghost, Snake, Ghoul, Scorpion, Witch, Mummy, and Sphinx. Let me say for the record here, I did not get beyond the spider during this gameplay session. I was either having a bad day or I stink out loud at Columns 3. Possibly both. But I wouldn't take what you're seeing as any kind of expertise on the game Columns, especially my very first game against the spider, where I was sorely out of practice and obviously needed to play more as the spider keeps chastising me, which gets really old after a while. What else can I tell you about Columns 3? How about price charting? Let's take a look and see what this game currently goes for. I think it's a pretty common game, so it probably doesn't go for a lot. The Genesis version in North America goes for $9 loose, $22 complete, $42 new. The Japanese version for Mega Drive goes for $8 loose, $8 loose, $22 complete, and $33.80 new. So, not super cheap if you want a complete copy, but certainly not hundreds of dollars either. But even the new prices are less than you'd pay for a new AAA game on any modern console. That's if you can even get any modern console. As of the recording of this video, I still don't have a PlayStation 5 or Xbox Series X. And those things are just... Let me put it this way. There was a time in the last week or two before recording this where Cheap Ass Gamer tweeted out that Verizon had PlayStation 5s. I'm a Verizon customer. We use their cell phone service. I thought maybe this time I've actually got a chance to get one, because every other time I've tried to get one, they've sold out immediately. I've sat in a queue and there's been none left when I got through the queue. So I ran upstairs to where my wife was working and I was like, honey, you check our Verizon data regularly, right? And she said, yes. I'm like, here's a link, sign in. And she did, and she put it in her cart, and before she could check out, sorry, there was a problem with your order. In the words of Scott DeWaz, damn it! It just doesn't work. You just can't get these things no matter how hard you try. Much like me winning a game of Columns 3. No matter how hard you try, you can't do it. But I digress. Should you play Columns 3? I mean, if you like puzzle games, and maybe if you don't stink as badly as I do as the one I'm playing right now, then yeah, it's another version of Columns. I wouldn't say it breaks new ground. I wouldn't say it reimagines the formula. This is not like the multiple versions of Tetris that have added little tweaks to the gameplay over the years and added features that the previous versions of Tetris didn't have, to the point by 2021, if you're playing Tetris, like Tetris Effect, for example, you're playing almost a completely different game from Tetris in the 1980s. Whereas I feel like every version of Columns I've ever played is not even an iteration on the formula. It's just the same formula with new window dressing laid over the top of it. Your opinion may differ. Maybe you know of a version of Columns that totally reimagines what Columns is. And if that's the case, leave your comments below. They're always welcome. And they're welcome in general, even if you have nothing to say about different iterations of Columns. If you just want to rap with me about how impossible it is to get next-gen consoles, or talk about the weather, I don't care. Whatever you want to say in the comment section, as long as you're not being racist, derogatory, or filthy towards other people in the comments section, by all means go for it. Say what you want. Like or dislike the video too, that doesn't matter to me. Engagement is good either way. I prefer likes, but you know, YouTube is redoing the algorithm and they're probably not going to be showing you dislikes by the time you watch this video, which I tend to think benefits corporations more than it does individual users, because, for example, the backlash when Nintendo launched the Switch Online expansion pack with N64 and Sega Genesis games, and it quickly became the most disliked video in their history. I mean, the ratio of likes to dislikes was the highest ever for any video Nintendo had ever done. And not surprisingly, not long after that, YouTube and Google made this announcement: oh, we're not going to show the total number of dislikes on a video anymore. Like, imagine that. Gee, doesn't that just work out well for Nintendo and Blizzard Activision and Ubisoft and Konami and all these other hardware and software companies? Anytime they do something that people don't like, you won't be able to see how much they don't like it anymore. That just works out so well for them. Shame that it conceals the truth from everybody else, but hey, if it makes a corporation look good, then more power to them, right? I mean, that's what it's all about. You gotta keep these big corporations happy. Ah, well, Columns 3. I stink at it. I'm not ashamed to admit that. But part of the problem I was having with it was I wasn't even using the special items. If you hit start and select them with the C button, you can do things like clear all the gems on the screen at one time. Only it seems like you get only one of each item per turn. Maybe there's a way to earn more. Maybe I haven't figured that out yet. But even when I do use the items, it isn't necessarily helping me. And if you look at the ratios in these battles with Spider, you would think I was winning because I'm making more matches and clearing more gems, but I still end up getting shoved over the top when he sends garbage to my side, or I lose a match when he sends the garbage over because it breaks the gems I was about to drop. and then I can't make the match that I need to make, and I'm hosed. Now this item here is supposed to help you by pushing gems back down, but he broke it by sending me garbage, so I couldn't even push my tiles back down with it. That should be illegal. It shouldn't be allowed to break a special item when you're about to use it. Like breaking your ordinary columns of gems, fine, but breaking a special item, that's too much, man. Hopefully Ryan will appreciate that Sarah Lynn reference. Maybe some of the rest of you will. Anyway, Columns 3. I'm not good at it, but it's not an expensive game. You can probably go to any used game store and find a copy of it. And you can always emulate it if you want to try it and get a feel for it. I'm Mr. MegaManFan. This has been Genesis Does. Thank you very much if you've been a watcher for a long time, or if you're new, thank you either way. I'll see you next time.